the third Chairs to the Table meeting, where all the committee chairs get together and we can discuss pertinent issues within the township or anything that might be coming up that would require a little bit more insight from the community. It is being streamed, I'm guessing on,
YouTube.
what's the name?
Pirate UMBT.
Okay. It's being streamed on Pirate UMBT on YouTube. Corey will be joining us, Supervisor Ekman will be joining us shortly. She is currently in a meeting in the back.
I just want to bring to your attention, I am kind of in the middle of working too, so if this rings, I'm gonna have to.
Sure. No problem. So this meeting was called to discuss and kind of go over the CBA and to get the most current information on where the township wants to go with it and the best way that we can utilize anything that would come out of it. So things to keep in mind, this chair meeting is about ideas for the CBA. It is not about the data center, whether we want it or don't want it. Nor should it be about what they should or shouldn't do. This is kind of just ideas coming together. The Board of Supervisors will ultimately have final say. So if there are some good ideas on here, if they get struck, there's probably a very good reason for it. Both fire departments will be included. The school is currently not included, and Portland Fire Department is currently not included. Yeah, Corey.
Does that mean it's in the CBA or CBI?
The CBA, correct. So at this point, I guess we can go around the table and everyone can say their name, the committee that they serve on, and how long they've been on the committee. Ms. Gilmore, if you'd like to start.
I've lost track. My name is Courtney Gilmore. I am on the EAC. We're tossing and turning if it's been 2 or 3 years, but we're pretty sure it's 2. It's just kind of all floated together, but I think it's about 2 years.
From the beginning.
Vice Chair.
Judy Henkel, Chairman, EAC, here from its reiteration 2 or 3 years ago. The founder in the beginning, 20 years ago.
Ray Higgins, EDC.
EDC?
Tom Gilmore, Vice Chair, Open Space Advisory Board, also your representative of the Friends of Mincy Lake.
Great.
Corey Ekman, Supervisor, Upper Milford.
Of course, Jonathan Erler, Vice Chairman of the Board of Supervisors.
I'm Sharon Sterney, Co-Chair of Park and Rec, and I've been on that board for about 12, 13 years.
Stavros Barbonas, Chairman, Parks and Rec, just over 9 years now.
Fran Visacaro, TAC. I'm in my 2nd year for TAC.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
Jeff Williams, TAC, Chairman. I guess since we started almost, we're in year 2.
It's year 2, yeah.
Laura Bacco, Open Space, I'm the Chair. I've been on Open Space for 8 years, 9, 10, I don't know, a long time. It's
10 years.
probably 10 years by now, I don't know. It seems like, I don't know, time flies. It's hard to know.
And in the crowd, people of note, we have Nick Graziano, the Township Manager. We have John Birmingham, the Chairman of the Board of Supervisors. We have a representative or 2 representatives from Slate Belt Holdings, who are in the development.
Sorry.
So Lisa and Julie, I'm sorry. So it's good that they at least want to hear what we're speaking about and maybe can make the process go a little faster. I have summary of past meetings. The first chairs to the table was earlier in 2025. The information that we ultimately came out from that was everyone kind of agreed that they were looking for a downtown or a community area. We have the Act 537 completion, or at least getting the ball rolling on that, was very important at that meeting. The farmers market stemmed much from that meeting. It was a boat ramp access for residents to the Delaware. There was a lot of talk on the reduction of truck traffic on 611 and 512. We were also discussing the electrical outages and how to solve that, which, I mean, knock on wood, with Met Ed and the township really going after the trees, we have seen a major reduction in the power outages in the last couple of months, if not year. And also we were discussing about possible ambulance service within UMBT. The second chairs meeting, which is in the second half of 2025, we got together again, and it looked like what came from that was to increase the information to our residents and the community from each of the boards. Whether committees should pursue their own strategies or conform under a township umbrella dealing with towns, websites, Facebook pages, and of the like. And community outreach initiatives and enhancements, like EAC with more events, EDC with the welcome baskets, Park and Rec with planning of events and having a table that some of the committees could utilize to get the information out. So now for like the start of the real reason for this meeting. We have CBA potential guidelines, or kind of things that the net that we can throw everything into and see what really conforms to this. So we will go around the table and see if you guys have any ideas. I specified a lot of my ideas at the last Board of Supervisors meetings. If anyone missed it, I can reiterate what I had said. But this actually stemmed from Mr. Baltic, who is in the crowd tonight. He gave a public comment of certain things that we should try and utilize and make sure with, like, the boundaries to get a very effective, far-reaching CBA, the most bang for the buck, if you will.
Well, John, if I could just interject for a minute. First of all, I am a public official. I was elected, so I'm an elected auditor.
If it's about the guidelines, I do have a space for public comment on the guidelines.
Yeah, I know, but during the introductions, I'm an elected official in the audience.
Okay, so you would like to introduce yourself?
Well, I just did, Charles Baltic. So, regarding the guidelines, I did not introduce the idea of guidelines. I introduced the idea of principles. Principles are things that overarch any specific item that you choose to put forward, and they should guide and govern the way the supervisors think about what's going to be on the table, so to speak, for consideration and ultimately approval. I don't see how the Board of Supervisors could possibly pick items from a menu unless they can say to the residents of the township what the governing principles are for how they're going to make their decisions. I have a copy of what I read to the township 2 meetings ago, if anybody wants it.
I would like it on this side, yeah.
These could be wrong, they could be right. You might agree, you might disagree.
Thank you.
But I strongly feel that the Board of Supervisors needs to speak, before you talk about specific items, in terms of principles that are going to govern and channel the discussions.
So are you saying that we shouldn't discuss items tonight?
Charles, do you have any more?
Sure. No, you can discuss whatever you want to discuss. I'm just saying, any individual idea may be a good idea, it may be a bad idea, it may be completely altruistic idea, it may be an idea that's political patronage. But if we have some statement of principles from the Board of Supervisors about what they see as the vision for the township,
That's what I'm saying, I agree.
and how they're going to channel all of people's ideas through a matrix of principles to guide their effort, I don't see how you're going to have a productive discussion.
I agree.
Uh, I'll reiterate what everyone got a copy of Charles's. I utilized that to see what I wanted to be the priorities and how I kind of saw the
But he's
CBA
saying,
going.
but he is saying it has to be the board of supervisors, not
I
just the
understand.
supervisor. So, we don't always see eye to eye, but I definitely agree with him on this one. We're gonna bring up items tonight that may just not go anywhere because there's no discussion amongst the supervisors first. This is again, one of the problems this township has, is we put the horse before the cart. And like you guys as supervisors.
Shouldn't the horse be before the cart?
Whatever. You know what I mean, or whatever. You feel very proud of yourself.
It's been a long day.
But let's just, you have us in a room to discuss these items, but Charles makes a very good point. As the supervisors, you guys should be sitting around first and figuring out all of those details and then saying, as supervisors, we're coming to you, and this is how this is going to, this will fall, and then our items come after that.
Ms.
But you
Gilmore,
know
I
that.
had, Mrs., I apologize, Ms. Gilmore, I had this on the last agenda for the Board of Supervisors meeting.
Yes.
That's where I read off what I thought, and I was hoping to get some input from the other supervisors so that we could do this at a board meeting and have open conversation to try and really hash down. So it didn't go as far. I agree with what you're saying, and perhaps we can utilize the collective minds tonight to put something that the supervisors can then critique and we can fine tune at the next board meeting perhaps.
May I ask a question?
Shoot.
What is the goal here? What are you trying to leave here? What would be good? What does good look like? We leave here with our suggestions and you've got your guidelines and buckets that those suggestions fit in? Is this the only opportunity for discussion on these? Is there going to be a public session where, like a workshop session with the public where everybody gets to weigh in on these? And potentially bring the public's ideas into this? Because in transparency, the Open Space Advisory Board, we haven't even met as a committee. So I brought my ideas, I'm sure Laura has hers, but they're mine and Laura's, they don't represent that. So if this is the only session for this, then I don't think that's a good approach.
When the NID was established, the community had no say in it whatsoever.
Yep.
And that was put on paper. I'm trying to avoid that by including a couple people. As I said before, ultimately, the Board of Supervisors have the final say. So we are going to put together as many great ideas
But I
that
think I would like
kind
to
of
hear.
fit into the long term, and each committee can kind of come up with the things.
Is there-
Our first chairs to the table was about the same
I wasn't part of that, so.
topic.
Is
And we
there
did have-
a timeline you're shooting for here? That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, is this the one and only opportunity for the committees to weigh in?
I hope not.
After this meeting, can't we,
I
you
hope
guys
not.
discuss what you have to discuss as supervisors, and then come back to us with what you think as a group again?
It just seems
Yeah,
like
well,
I mean,
we
let's
can
put it
bring
this
it
way.
up, we can bring it up at a board
I
meeting,
mean-
put things together, and then,
You know, we only have a
Present
handful
it.
of supervisors, and we have a really lot of smart people in this town. And this is something we cannot screw up. I can't put it any other way. As a business person, this is our opportunity. And if we don't do this correctly, we will either destroy what we have as a community in town, because we didn't do it the right way, or we will squander that money and waste it on things that will not help or benefit this township.
I see the CBA as an overall, we are not guaranteed a CBA by
No.
any developer coming in there. This is an opportunity. So I wanna try and get as many good ideas forward,
That's what he's saying.
and
No,
we can
I was talking,
pitch it
just
to
talking
the
with somebody
supervisors.
that negotiated the CBA with the dump the last time, when the dump opened in Wing Gap. And what he was telling me was, listen, you can go back and ask this company for whatever you want, and you'll screw it up just like you did the last time. You can go back and say, hey, we want $60 million, and they're gonna tell you where to stick it. You can go back to them and ask them for things like, hey, we would actually like you to be more guaranteeing us that you're gonna cooperate with us and help us get grants to match whatever money you're giving us. Because then we double our money, and we can use that money wisely. But if we don't do these things and do them correctly, I'm friends with all you guys. And I think all of you have a place as a supervisor in this town. But I don't think 5 people should make this big of a decision. I think you guys should get together. I think you should talk about it, and then you should come back and get the heads of all, and I'm not even the head, I won't be back here. I'm filling in. You know, Scott will be here. But you should take all the smartest people you can get in a group and figure out what we're gonna get out of this, and how it really benefits us.
Ultimately, it does rest on the Board of Supervisors collectively to put the CBA.
I would hope that the
This
Board of
is-
Supervisors
This is a
is
place
smart
that
enough to
everyone can
realize
have
that
their
this is
voice.
big, and they should involve all the people that are involved in this township.
And
that-
coming into
I
this
have to
meeting,
agree.
I agree with
I
Charles.
agree
We
with you.
should have some, there should be not
Feedback.
guidelines, or something.
Look, ultimately,
this- yeah.
these supervisors were elected to represent us.
Right.
And they ultimately have to say. But I hope they're smart enough to listen to the people that head all these boards and take ideas from everybody and come up with an actual smart plan.
Right.
And forget these flake people we've been hiring as consultants. Get a real damn consultant, so you know what the hell you're doing. And get somebody that has done it for another town, and do the research. Don't, hey, I know this guy, forget that. Find the right person to negotiate this deal.
Right, that's why I think we're here today, is to start getting those ideas
And, you know,
together.
you need to do research on people that you think you're gonna hire. And, you know, the internet is a wonderful place to look and see what the person did and what they are willing to do.
Well, we're,
Research.
I
It's
do have,
important
I do
on
have
everything we do.
a portion
Research.
of this, of the best way that we could bring this to the table when dealing with the developer. But that is
You know, some of
later.
the
I
things,
wanted to get the
John,
guidelines down first, and we can talk about the issues, what we wanna solve, what our goals are.
You know, we discussed in our last EDC that you were there about certain items, and I'll use the fire truck as an example. Some of the things that are being asked for are insane. First of all, you know as well as I do, you don't fight a fire at a facility like that with water. So they're asking for a $2.5 million truck that we don't need. I love the fire department, we put on events for them all the time, but let's get them stuff that they actually need, training. How do they handle it? Get them all trained so they know what they're doing. We have to use this money intelligently. I hear all these crazy things, let's get a new township building, let's get this, let's get that. None of that makes any sense at this point. You guys are gonna jump into this and commit to all these different things, and that money's gonna be gone, and you'll never productively do anything for this town.
Right, what I'm trying to avoid with this meeting is something that you think is a great idea, someone else might think is not, and they want the money spent in
Absolutely.
a different way. So this is a way to get great ideas on paper, and then the supervisors can select it. We have to try and package it to fit within a certain price that we were shooting for and a certain timeline. And once the supervisors do that, then we can approach the public again and say, this is what we have. Maybe
How about like
have a special meeting just on that.
What is that timeline, Joe?
I don't know.
Okay,
Wait,
you just
could
told
I
me you're
make a
gonna fit it into
suggestion?
a timeline.
Oh, no, 10 years perhaps?
Oh, the CBA time.
Yes,
the
yes, the
overall.
CBA time.
Gotcha.
Could I make a
But if
suggestion?
I didn't call this chairs to the table,
So that would.
the public would not have any input on what's going on. So I'm making an attempt to reach out to at least the committee chairs, so there isn't screaming in a giant room that has 100 people
There
in it.
shouldn't be screaming. This is something that we actually have to have smart conversations about.
Okay, can we try and get back to the type of guidelines that we want to fit
Sure.
into?
That's my suggestion.
Go ahead.
We keep going around in circles, it's 20 after 7 right now.
Correct.
And I kind of vaguely remember those two other meetings, but again, our EAC felt that we didn't know what we could contribute because the water issues were immediate. And so I kind of would like to see if Mr. Bolton could run over these guidelines, just to give us an idea of like, maybe what he's suggesting, we're like, wow, was I off base with that? I shouldn't even have suggested. Or, here's a better thing I never thought of.
Examples.
Like
So-
a mini course right
So
now on how to go over.
would this board
community
like him
benefit.
to read his,
No, we want him to explain it. You know, I don't
What do we do?
understand this lingo,
Well,
you know what I mean?
if you would recognize me as the chair.
but you are recognized.
So I'm happy to try and say what the goal of this was. The goal of this was to start a conversation on process, not outcome. As Courtney said, we can't put the cart
Before the
before the
horse.
horse again on this. I don't mean to demean anybody, but we
No.
have to really do this in a proper way. And I think a proper way involves a conversation between our governing officials, our appointed officials, and our community. I think it has to start with the governing officials, the people who've actually been elected by all the residents of this township, to put out what I call principles, not guidelines. Guidelines are more like telling somebody how to do something, do this properly, follow these guidelines. Principles are things we impose on ourselves as ways that we think about and channel our objectives. So, first principles, what do we want to do in this township? Do we want tax relief for residents of the township? Some people may want it, some people may not want it. But I think the supervisors should think about it and make a statement about it. So that's the first one. I feel that all of the benefit, if you want to spread the benefits to the biggest swath of residents in this township, the way to do that would be broad-based tax relief. So that's number one. Number two, some things just can't be done out of a normal township budget because of restrictions on size. You have an opportunity here to get a bolus of resources, a bunch of resources at one point in time, and that means you can undertake capital development projects, whatever those might be. Do we need buildings? Do we need a shelter building in the township? Do we need a new office building? I personally don't think we do, but other people may think we do. But just saying as a board, yes, we think we should try to identify long-term capital needs in the township and then funnel ideas into that principle. The third one, and I really feel important about this township should not pay for operational costs for regular operations of the township out of the CBA. That's what I would call the road to perdition. If you go down that road, you're going to eviscerate the tax base of the township. You're going to have a mismatch between the township tax base and the township budget. And the developer could go bankrupt at any point in time and walk away. And then our township's left without any way to fund even its most basic obligations. So you ought to think about operational budget funded by regular taxes and a CBA funded by this effort. Public safety and emergency response. I'm sure there are a number of things we can do better in this township with respect to our township residents' safety and well-being. I'm not an expert, I don't know what those are, but I think we have to have a robust conversation. I think that should clearly be an objective. I personally think we should try to foster trades and vocational training, because I think if you want young people to stay in the township, one of the best ways is to get them to do things that we use every day in the township. And I do want to see this township keep its people, keep its young people. And I don't think anybody else does this well. I don't think our schools do this well anymore. There's no more shop class. There's no more teaching of anything in schools with relation to vocational training. I do think if we're going to do capital development, we should also think about things that actually have revenue generating potential. So if you had a community center that could be rented out to other organizations, you could generate revenue that would come into the township on a regular basis. And then environmental preservation and improvement, we all were attracted to this township because of its green space, its rural character, and its environmental beauty. So we have to maintain that. I think we have to identify that as a priority. And then finally, personally, I am a local gentleman farmer, but I do think we neglect our farmers to the detriment of the township. There aren't a lot of them, so on a purely numerical basis, I totally get the point that it's a handful of people. But the property that they're custodians of is a disproportionate share of actually what we see when we drive around this township every day. And it's intrinsic to the character of the township, and it's also one of the greatest elements of our history of our township. So that's why I came up with this list. This may not be, the ultimate list, it may not be the right list, but I'm just trying to get the process channeled into a way that's going to be rational and not be a grab bag of special interests. That's what my goal is with this statement.
Okay, thank you.
I think this is
No ballrooms.
So,
Sorry?
No ballrooms.
No
What
ball
I'd like
rooms.
to-
I don't think we need a ballroom.
what I'd like to add to that is I want I personally would like to see the things that are on the CPA have a longevity, not just a short-sighted gain, something that the township can benefit from for 10, 20, 30 years. Also, I'm looking for kind of multi-use or multi-role, one gain that can satisfy multiple things for the township. Then other than that, pretty much everything that Mr. Baltic covered is what I had on a little 15-point thing that I came up with. Supervisor Ekman, is there anything that?
No, it's just the same thing. I said it in the last meeting too. Like, we had one shot. Jumping into it, the cart before the horse. We talked about it tonight. Other nights we did. If we can get them to, if they hand over one lump of money, where does it get used? Could be used in the wrong spots, like you said. But if we could do it and put it towards community center, maybe a township building, anything that could help in that sense. If we get a grant for X amount, maybe they can not do a total match, but a percentage wise. Not just hand the money over and it sits in a bank and then it's all left to go to where to divide it out at.
There actually has to be some kind of plan in place.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna bring this amount of people into the township, okay, and you will be, because just as the workers alone, you're gonna have quite a bit of people into our township and our community, which is a good thing in a lot of ways, as long as it's done correctly. If you actually wanna have some sort of downtown, and you wanna actually have a cute little town that doesn't end up with all these big things, you have to allow other things to go in to support it. Or if you don't support things to move forward, then you don't get the tax revenue and stuff you need as a town to survive. But in order to do any of that stuff, you need infrastructure, and we have none. We have no infrastructure in this town.
So you think
And
that
any-
infrastructure should be on the
Listen,
principal?
any building that you do, anything we do in construction-wise, whether it's the baseball field I'm doing in Wingate, anything, you have to have the infrastructure in first before you can build a single thing. You have to be able to support the town in a healthy, safe way. And right now, you already have all these, and I own multiple properties on 611. All the wells and septics fail. They're garbage. Listen, I put $7,000 into a water treatment system to pass the DEP test to be able to have the coffee shop in our store. You have to get some sort of infrastructure, and if you're gonna do that, and you wanna do it correctly, then you have to think about things like, all right, if we're gonna do that, what do we actually see the town looking like? Do we have a little cute downtown? Is that what the people want? Do they want something, and you can go to many different places, but like Milford, you go to that town, it's got all these little cute stores, it has a downtown. If you're thinking on the scales of something like that, you have to think first infrastructure, then how do we handle the amount of people? So you can't walk along 611, so if we're gonna put infrastructure in, it's probably pretty smart to put sidewalks in at the same time. And you may have to finagle. Part of it may have to be on one side of the road, the other part would have to be on the other, just the way things are laid out. But if you actually wanna have some sort of town, 611 and 512, that little corridor there is really your options.
Okay, well, right now, we're still on the principle, so you would like,
You gotta put infrastructure.
infrastructure,
You have
okay. Is there any other committee that might like to add to the principle discussion? Yeah.
More towards framework and then a suggestion of change of language. So I agree with Baltic's approach on principles, and I understand the purpose of why we're here. Of the 5 boards who represent 42 volunteers in their respective areas of focus, I think that's what we're bringing forward based on our length and whatever we know we've been able to do or not do to the Board of Supervisors to then use the guiding principles to determine if those ideas are fiscally possible, long-term benefits. And I'm thinking of my ideas with no relevance to cost or timing because we don't know either of those 2 factors. I want to present what I'd like to see happen without consideration of timing or cost because those are variables. I think the guiding principles that are suggested would be principles that the Board of Supervisors have to use as a checklist to see if these ideas check the boxes and determine which ones adhere to, long-term viability, most benefit, benefit the most amount of people wherever possible, and figure out that balance. I don't think we're here to stick to these guidelines. I don't want to, this is not for us to do. I think that's a Board of Supervisors decision. The change of language is when you had said that it's ultimately up to the Board of Supervisors to decide, I disagree. It's up to the township residents to decide what's in the best interest and what everybody wants to see moving forward. If all of this comes to fruition and you guys come up with a balanced proposal for a CBA and you present it to the township and the township by majority agrees, you have a majority decision, hopefully from at least 3,400 residents, that says, we agree. To me, you're not making the final decision. You're executing an agreement, potentially, but I think the township ultimately is providing you that feedback. And then you check that against this list for fiscal responsibility, long-term benefits, actual cost to implement, operate, maintain, and come up with that plan, which hopefully looks 10, 20, 30 years down the road. So for this meeting, and again, this is the way I'm seeing this, I want to present ideas from Parks and Rec's perspective forward. Other people, you might have an environmental implication to what we're asking for. I'd like to hear it. The TAC might have transportation, open space might have separate considerations, but I think we're here to present what we're aware of from what we've done in our specific boards or commissions or councils to bring it forward. And that's 42 people.
That's why you're here. Like I said, once the Board of Supervisors gets that list, we have the resources that we can put dollars to projects. And we can also look at timelines and maybe if there's an order of what has to be done first to facilitate the next thing or to make things mesh. And then when we get that plan, we can put it out on the website for people to critique and view, and hopefully we get the approval.
You're getting your legs underneath you, and you're starting to go. I agree 1,000% with what Stavros says, and I'm gonna take it a step further. I think once you have your CBA in a place that the Board of Supervisors feel comfortable about it, many other municipalities across the country are doing that as a ballot initiative. Let the people vote on it. Let the people have their say. 70% of America is against these things. Let the people have their say.
Let me just say, just to cut quick, and you're jumping all over here, so EAC has a lot of thoughts. We had it open to the public, you were there. But I think the thing that probably fits in with Mr. Baltic's thing is we did have that farmer conservation incentive.
We're not at
No, I
the
know.
actual.
But I'm saying we had a 20-year, what you could do to
Yeah.
keep farming viable
Yeah.
in this community. So I'm hoping that's an example of what
Yes.
you're looking for. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone else that?
Just sustainable programs, projects for future generations. And like open space, we're about future and preserving what we have. So that would be part of all the information into that big funnel is sustainability.
I do not want to have to rely on any development, that if they give it to us, like you were saying about a revenue generating source or something that if they fail, if, you know, nothing happens, if we at least get the CBA and we get those things, I don't wanna be dependent on that, like the garbage, for the town, where they didn't want to lease them more land, but they realized that the entire township's budget was hinged on waste management, so
right now they are in
had no
chaos.
choice. They had to. So that is something that I'm looking to avoid. If we can get reductions and stuff, then great, but I don't want any program to solely rely on them. So more of, I wouldn't say a one-time cost, but very, very close to it. Not like the development would have to sustain them for the next 10, 20 years. Okay, so sustainability. Are there any other representatives that
He said.
have anything else to add?
I have an additional thing. So, one of the things we're talking about is a CBA, and that's an important part of this negotiation. A CBA without teeth, a CBA without enforcement, a CBA without oversight isn't worth the paper it's printed on. The NAACP has a recommendation. They recommend municipalities who are facing these things form a CAB, a Community Advisory Board. They will oversee the implementation and compliance of the CBA, obviously. Buck stops at the Board of Supervisors. The recommendation is that there's an additional board specifically around this. This isn't a pizza place. This isn't a new coffee shop. This isn't, you know, a new strip mall. This is something that will change this community permanently. That oversight, anything we put in the CBA, anything we need to put in that ordinance that needs to go along with that, needs enforcement. It needs some sort of long-term caretaking. And I use the NAACP because they're active in the mess that Virginia's in right now. And they absolutely recommend a community advisory board to be the sort of shepherding the CBA through and then be part of the oversight after to ensure that our
That
new
would-
partners are
That would go
compliant.
back to your idea, like getting the smart people involved, right? Keep those people in that advisory board and let them,
You know, even if the ideas are different,
yeah.
doesn't mean that two different
Right.
ideas can't work in the same situation.
Right.
First of all,
Right.
and what we have to look at right now as looking at it intelligently, if this comes, just say it's coming and it happens,
Yeah,
and it's down there now. Regardless of what we get from it,
Right.
what do the people in this room think this town then looks like?
yeah.
Do we want a downtown? What are the things that ultimately have to, we can't strive to get somewhere if we don't know what it is that everybody thinks it looks like at the end.
Right.
Two years ago, I stood in front of the Board of Supervisors and asked you guys what your vision for the township was. Nobody answered. I still haven't heard. That's exactly what you're saying.
I-
You need that.
I
and
think
you
all
need
of us
some
live here
municipal
because we like
plan.
the open space and we like where we live and we like the fact that it's very clean here. We have a clean way of living, I would say. The things that we have to look at is ultimately, where does it go? Like, do we have a downtown? Do we not have a downtown? We all want to see the farms stay. How do you keep the people to stay? First of all, you got to get the generations that are coming now to want to stay here. So there has to be jobs and things that you can utilize. We don't even have everybody here shops at Dollar General, unless you want to drive 25 minutes. We don't even have a mom and pop grocery store anymore. There's nothing here. So what is it ultimately that you want it to look like? You know, you have to have that vision and then put all those visions together and then try to come up with a plan to get there. But right now, I mean, I don't really hear anybody saying what they see the end goal looking like, anybody. But, you know, do we look like, you know, obviously, I don't think anybody wants to have a built-up city. We don't want a Walmart. We don't want, there are things that we don't want. How do you keep them out of here? You have to have a tax base so they don't have a reason to come here. So if you're gonna have a tax base to have them, you know, this development up there is going to give you a nice start of a tax base. And to sustain that, and to be able to actually give something to the community, do you see it where we have a downtown area? Do you not see it with a downtown area? Because all these things make a big difference to what you do with that money.
But this is, a lot of the discussion that you guys are talking about now came from the first chairs of the table, which was the point of the first chairs. We had plenty of time to discuss the CBA, so we were trying to pick out where we really wanted to go, and then how do we get there?
But no one in this room seems to have that idea, or let alone have, you know, put it out into a conversation.
I think there needs, my opinion, I think we need to clarify two separate subjects.
Talking about possibly.
I'm not here to present today what I think the future of the township should be.
But you need to
Hold on.
know what to do with the CBA.
I'm here to present what we'd like to see Parks and Recreation achieve over X amount of time. That could be anything, right? Now, I agree with what you're both saying about the future vision of this township overall. That's everything. You know, and I'm on EDC too. From an EDC perspective, do I want to attract businesses? Yes. That's not the goal of the CBA. The CBA is not going towards potentially attracting businesses or what that would require. The township would go after that, but I think that's separate. I think that's when the developer gets here, whatever that might be. What this is to define what our 5 organizations are asking for from our respective focuses.
It's hard to
In
tell
fact,
you that.
so
unless you have
EAC
an
is
end
not
goal.
gonna say we want a downtown, hopefully they say we want clean water, we wanna stop contaminating our aquifers, we wanna clean up the septic stuff that's going on. That makes sense. It's not, I wanna see sidewalks, now that might be a benefit, it might be a side component of
That's what I'm
water
saying,
and sewer,
would be a
that's the
side
ask, right?
component, yes.
We're not asking for a downtown, that's outside of our purview.
No, but
We're
you're
gonna focus on the parks and recreation aspects of the township, just like open space. Let's focus on that. Transportation, that covers the whole township in theory.
But
right?
I think it'll be a lot easier to get to, I understand
I
what
think
you're
we
saying.
contribute to that larger vision.
But we have to know, kind of get a consensus what that larger vision is, so we know where, as a Park and Rec, what is your, you know, if this is gonna, you want Park and Rec to do, say, tournaments or whatever. How do you achieve that stuff? Well, what I'm telling you is, first of all, you have to have the infrastructure to be able to house that kind of people. Okay? So if Park and Recs wants to do some of these things and bring revenue into the town, that's great. We want to see the park progress forward. I mean, it's come a long way. It's amazing right now. And everybody should thank you and Nick and all the people that have gotten it over there, because it looks great. But we have to be able to know where we're going first before you can decide what you're going to do in that park, or anybody else.
So Ray, when each committee comes together and says what they intend to do, once we start writing it out, we're gonna get a picture of what we can do. And some of those things aren't gonna fit, and some of them will mesh together like puzzle pieces. And it's creating the entire picture. Once we put all those puzzle pieces together, will give us what we're kind of looking like from the feedback that we
Where
get.
the part I look at it from is, if I'm telling you, and you were to ask, most of the guys in the EDC would say, we need infrastructure, because we understand how things work on that level. How do I know what that infrastructure would cost, or be able to tell you any real value on any information on that, when I don't know what you're planning to do?
We
So
also
it's
don't
hard
know
to
the
give-
full extent of the CBA.
Right, I understand it, but if you said to me, we plan on developing 611 and 512 in this corridor, and then you could look into what does it take to get the resources into that area to develop that. Now, if you say we're not gonna do that, but what other infrastructure could we use it for, some of the money? It would be a different group of infrastructure probably than what you're talking about if you're going to develop something like that.
Okay, Well, let's try and stay back on it. I know that you're kind of circling around the whole infrastructure and
Well, because
there
I
are-
want to
there
know
are a
what
lot of
people's,
different-
I want to know what
Because
their
the road-
vision is.
The road is infrastructure.
Absolutely.
But that's a township
Well,
responsibility.
the road, a light, a public parking lot, and there's things that, if you're gonna bring people here, there's infrastructure that has to work for what you're gonna do, and you're not telling, the picture of what we're doing isn't there, so it's hard to say from a building point or an EDC point, this is what we need to put money into.
Okay. Principles, unless anyone, any representative would like to add to the principles, we can go to the public to see if anyone would like to add anything. So right now it's open to public comments based on principles. Mr. Engel, how did I know?
I have said a number of times at the supervisors meeting, we have, we spent $5,000 on somebody who, as I've said in the past, it's questionable who we did represent. But that's history. We do have people in this township who have the ability to negotiate on our behalf. Frankly, there doesn't seem to be any interest in doing that. If it was local people, they certainly would be more interested in what's right for us here in the township.
Mr. Engel, I think that's more of a general public comment. We're trying to get ideas for the principles and guidelines to stay with.
Let me give you one more.
Thank you.
Everybody wants to drive by and see the farms. Right now, one of the things you could be doing is some kind of a fund to help the farmers, because quite frankly,
We have that all worked out at the EAC that we're gonna present tonight.
Please let him finish.
well, I guess you're really not interested in what I have to say.
Oh, no, I am.
No problem.
I'm interested, go ahead.
I think you agree, so.
Yeah, we agree, actually.
Right now, farmers struggle. In my lifetime, there was probably 40 or 50 dairy farms in this township. We're down to one. And frankly, everybody talks about
give
preserving
them a little
farmland. Quite frankly, somebody needs to wake up and figure, how are we gonna preserve the farmer? Because without the farmer, the farmland will lay dormant. It will no longer be farmland. It is a struggle for any farmer today, big or small. If you're bigger, the headaches and the problems are bigger, quite frankly. But I would suggest somewhere in this whole mix needs to be something where you take a look at what you can do to help the farmers. Because they're really at the mercy of a whole bunch of things which are not good. You can put corn in the ground, you have no idea whether it's going to grow. We're in a little bit of a drought right now, quite frankly. You have no idea what they're going to pay you for it when you go to sell it. It's a struggle. So if we, like farmers, we have a few gentlemen farmers like Mr. Baltic and myself, who I don't think we're going to go under the price of feed goes up. But there is farmers and people here who farm the land that would have that problem. And something ought to be done about that to protect those people and keep them farming. Everybody wants to drive by and see the cows and see the farmland and the corn come up and the tractor go out. And if you really like that here, you need to be figuring out how to help the farmer.
Thank you.
So, can I just add something to what Ron said? So, as an example of that, you could have a stabilization fund where there is some money put aside in a township fund dedicated to the purpose of supporting farmers if, for instance, fertilizer costs go up more than 40% in a year, which could bankrupt any particular farmer and cause them to sell their land to some developer where they wouldn't otherwise do it. It's those kinds of things. So translating the principle of let's try to preserve farming and farmers into tangible benefits, I think we need a statement from the supervisors that, yes, we do want to preserve farms and farmers. That's a principle. Now, how do we get input from our committees to effectuate that principle? And then ultimately the supervisors decide. I don't know about a referendum. I'm not legally trained enough. You'd have to ask the solicitor if you could put these things to a referendum. I think right now the law stands, it's 5 supervisors who are going to make the decision in this township about how to do this. But I do think you want to have a conversation that starts from principles, gets pushed out to the committees and the appointed people, coalesces the community behind ideas, funnels those ideas back to the supervisors. So you have a bunch of things that the community, at least a meaningful element of the community buys into, right? And then you're going to have less tension and less, Otherwise, at the end of this, it's just gonna be acrimony and chaos. You know, it needs to be a process driven by dialogue.
Great.
I agree.
Is there any other member of the public that would like to say anything?
I'll throw out an idea. How big of a town do you want? People didn't come here to have a town. We have towns around us. So we have to, that's a decision. How big do you want to grow and why? Why don't we just partner, you don't have to annex them, partner with Portland and we have a great river community.
That's been
What's
tried
our-
many times through the years.
I think Portland would want to have to join
Well,
us.
maybe, but what's our identity? Say Upper Mount Babylon, what do you think people think of? Probably like Mincy.
Well, as they were saying, one of the main identities of Mount Bethel are the farmers. So if we can put something to assist the farmers into the CBA, that's us trying to maintain our identity, utilizing
And
the
growing.
development, which a lot of people are against. So
Yeah.
the CBA is a legally binding contract
I-
to
I'm
try
gonna-
and support the community.
I'm gonna differ a little bit from Judy here on this. I think if we are actively preserving the things we love in this township, farming, open space, green land, preserving all it, and keeping that, and putting money aside for all that, I also do believe in the growth. I kinda do want a downtown. I don't wanna always have to go leave here and shop in East End or go to Stroudsburg. I'd love to be able, I know it, I'm gonna say it again, I'd love to have a record store in town, and like, that's my, I mean, but I travel for those, right? So like, I would love to have a downtown, and I'd love to, I mean, we don't have to make it this big, like,
Right.
over.
Not everything,
thing,
but the
yeah.
basics of, but really good quality, which if you get if you have an identity, and I just said Rivertown, but if you have an identity for people coming here for our wetlands and all the different environmental creatures we have or
But
whatever.
people here to shop and eat.
And then you have maybe, like, I don't wanna say an arts community, but you have people who do specialty kind of things. And people come here for that. They may not wanna live here, but they like to travel through. And so it's a matter of how big do we wanna get? I'm not saying we're not gonna do anything, but what are you looking at? What kind of a community you wanna be?
Well, from our first chairs to the table meeting, we discussed the downtown, that fits this town better because it can be mom and pop shops, and we don't need a Walmart to be our
We
downtown.
don't want this big.
Right.
We want a
Exactly.
community kind of
Specialty
generated
shops, yeah.
and beneficial.
Antique store.
There are
So
lots
that's
of
why
them.
if we did another area, like people that fought against the plaza while that was under creation, currently the plaza is the heart of the community.
All right, and I get that, and but I guess with farming, it's not just the commodity crops. We have more and more people in smaller doing vegetable gardening or flowers or this, that, and the other thing. You can do more and more of that to have quality, fruits and vegetables here and people come to that.
We
And there's a
can't
lot.
make them do it though.
No,
If they
well,
do it,
that's the
that'd be
point.
great. And I think
You're
that
thinking-
was a lot with the EDC. No, Parks and Rec, the farmer market. I think that would actually speak to that,
We had
that if
that
you
for a
can grow
while.
extra, you could take it to the farmer's market. John, I saw that your hand was up.
Yeah, so, a suggestion was just given to me, what if we had like, call it like an idea box or a suggestion box and leave it at the township building? Any resident can come by and say, my vision for Upper Mount Bethel is, small town USA going down 611, or I wanna see an ambulance, we need an ambulance, I like Charles' approach, get the principals, bring the principals to you guys tell us how we get there. I like Stavros' idea as well, that it should be, that we represent the people, and the CBA should be reflected to be the people's desire. But, I mean, I have no problem calling a town hall meeting, a couple town hall meetings, to get people to come, but if they don't wanna come, they can come down here, fill out a suggestion box. Once we get enough ideas, we do a special meeting, we go through the ideas, anybody can come, and then we're kinda talking to the people and
If we
acting on-
only had a survey on our website,
Well, but what do you say?
Sorry, I had to take the
You
shot.
need more, but
Poor
you
guy.
need more and more meetings where people know that they can come and talk. And maybe
We
there one or
need
two
more
that are screening out.
advertisement too.
Yeah,
Okay.
people didn't know they could come.
Yeah, but this, you know, one thing that's different, this time, everybody's in this room and they're talking and there's some ideas coming out, but it's civil. There's no, you know, when this first round of this came and they were gonna put something up there, people, you had to pick a side. You were one side or the other side. Now, I think we're getting smart enough to realize something is going to happen there eventually. We don't know what that something is. And if we do get a sum of money, what do we do with it? Now, how do we work together and figure it out without sitting in a room screaming at each other?
But you have to listen to all the people,
Sure.
even though you don't like them or what they're saying.
It-
Because you're not gonna get all the best grocery stores, you're not gonna get all the things that you want. People are gonna come in. We know very well when you sit up there at that table, if you don't have a good reason to say no on their development or how they're doing it, they get the okay. Even the last couple of meetings, all the people who are upset with people driving them crazy with things they shouldn't be doing, it's hard to say no. So
Okay.
it's hard.
I'm
come
gonna
on
reel it
balance.
back in, because
Yeah.
now we're gonna get into the actual open discussion period where
Okay.
each committee can talk about the things that they've kind of hopefully been slowly working on for the past year from the first meeting where these ideas were kind of starting to get fleshed out. So I guess I'll start with EAC at the end.
Oh, you want us to start out?
Sure.
Oh, you had us on the bottom of the list, and I thought, oh boy. No, we gave
You
you
went
this
to the top.
paper from Dole.
Yes, but let's explain it to the committees. And, we'll try and
so-
write it down best we can. That's why I gave some room on the page that you guys can fill it in so that it stays kind of fresh in everyone's head and we can see perhaps they can fit into the principles, what may not. And like I said, the board of supervisors would then look at the price tags and the timelines to try and put together some kind of package that then we can present to the residents.
Well, whatever. Okay, so at our meeting, we had a big open discussion, and we considered that, you know, and this is, we thought environmental conditions were not something we could ask in a CBA. They should be something embedded in an ordinance. So we're looking at water resources, noise, air pollution, heat, dark skies, solar, and other green building. So as we were discussing things, we thought our first thing would be the text amendment that's on the website right now needs to be revised. Maybe you need to have it up there so people can see how blatantly doesn't help us. So the topics we came in with, and I'll just jump, solar compensation for our township buildings, assuming the builder would use as much solar as possible. That's solar committee, you're on that, and I thought,
Yes.
as that comes along, you could flesh that out. But
So-
just summary for what Dole did, and I have it.
So let's
Just keep, well,
let's
next,
stick with the idea about you said solar
Yeah.
for municipal.
Mhm.
next spring must be.
Yeah, municipal buildings, but there could be something that would help promote that, not, what do I wanna say, not promoting corporate or big solar projects
So
on farms.
residential solar.
Residential independent solar,
and
whatever,
So
something ongoing.
municipality would be under the board of supervisors kind of ability to put it on municipal buildings.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, that would be
So-
a first cost.
So that would be to offset the actual development and reduce the taxes on the township, because we do spend quite a bit of money on electricity. The streetlights, stoplights, the Eastern Industries, this building, heck, even the fire departments, they have monthly bills that come out of taxes.
Yeah, we used to do street light fire years ago. So basically what Dole DeFevo came up with, a farmer conservation program, and he detailed it as a program with practices and incentive payouts. So the money would be paid to the Northampton County Conservation District, which is a known entity. They would then manage and administering according to their standards. So there would be a section that would help, and he has on the back of the sheet he did, for disasters caused by, if it was a data center or whoever. You know, if there was something that went on with the water or air pollution. or the heat produced that would be detrimental to crops or whatever. So again, this will be administered through the Northampton County Conservation District. Money would go to them, and then it would also be paid out, one administrator to handle that program. The other thing I heard people say, because Dole has on here, and I can run down, the things you could get paid for: cover crops, planting no-till, planting in green, reducing synthetic fertilizers, applying biologistics instead of commercial fertilizers, on-site composting, adding contour strips. There's all grass and hay contours, fixing agricultural roadways that are prone to washouts, converting land to organic program, and land. So you combine that and you get a mix of those. And I think it was said, well, he was looking for $1 million a year for 20 years to be paid out, and no farmer could get more than 2,000. But that doesn't mean 5 farmers are gonna get 2,000.
So you're talking about $20 million for that
Over
plan
20 years.
in its entirety.
Over 20
But,
years.
well, what you're saying is that the CBA should be paying farmers for
Right.
doing what they're doing?
That's like the fire truck. It's a lump sum to the farming incentive.
Judy, you didn't have
program.
enough zeros. It's not 2,000, it's 200,000.
Well, that's up at the top, 200,000 a year for the farmer.
I have a question.
Yeah, we
But
said
it
2,000.
could be a
Hold on.
farmer with only
Misspoke.
one program, and he gets 50,000. And somebody gets whatever. Just the max for a farmer is 200,000, and the max for the year is $1 million. Maybe some years, like open space, you don't spend it.
Okay,
Every
I
time-
do like the fertilizer bit on there, because
Now, this
almost
is-
every farmer
This is the
uses
beginning,
fertilizer.
look at, see what you
But
can
in
do.
transparency, Supervisor Erler, you came to Dole and asked him to put this together, and that's what he did, right? So,
And in fairness, right, because, and I'll speak as part of the open space board, because there's some overlap here where we're supporting farmers and supporting the way of life. Mr. Angle had a great point. Farming here is tough. Laura can speak to that more personally than anyone in this room. Dole put together a pretty intelligent plan here. Is this the final plan? Maybe not, but this is a great start of a self-sustaining program with oversight, with administration, with price tags, and a really thought from a guy who lives and breathes this, a really thoughtful program that he put together. Again, probably not where it would look if this was the final first stab at it, but when I saw this, because I was at the EAC where Dole presented this, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was brilliant in that he managed to conceive, and he participates in a lot of these kinds of programs already, so this is drawn from other ones that he has experience with. I just like, if you're talking about self-contained, price tag, time box, all of that stuff is in here. It's a great framework. It's a great starting point. And I'll speak for Dole in that. And even where he said it, he's like, this is just me putting this on paper. This is the starting point.
So you said it was self-sustaining.
Well, it's got it in the money that's assigned to it, right? There's an administrator pretty much bought out from the conservation district.
But it's not self-sustaining.
It's self-sustaining with the money from the CBA as part of this. But the program doesn't require Nick Graziano to have to lean in and administrate this. It's not on the Board of Supervisors to lean in and administrate this program. This is a program for Upper Mount Bethel farmers. If one of the things we're looking to do as our principal guideline or guide or North Star, whatever you want to use, if one of the things that our values are to support our farmers, a program like this is a great idea.
Okay. And in fairness, I did reach out to Dole.
yeah.
And I reached out to a couple other farmers and spoke about what type of incentive programs could we put together to include them, because that was one of the big things that I saw on the NID, and the agreement that the supervisors first sent to the consultant. It was not a single speck of farming on that at all. I know that there were like extra programs that it could be used, or philanthropy or stuff like that, but I would like to see something that's dedicated specifically to it. Fran,
All
sorry.
right, I have a question. You're getting, say you get a lot of money for the farmers, okay? Is there a way that you could make it self-sustaining by, like, we have the truck fund? Could they create a fund and put some of that money in to start the fund and use the other money for maybe 4 or 5 years to help these farmers?
That's a great idea, Fran.
And it could build up and then it can become self-sustaining. I don't know whether you
The-
can
the
do it
interest
legally
rates-
or not.
interest
Oh, you're
rates
looking
are
at
low.
self-funding.
I would
Well,
also-
something like that.
I would also
Like it's able
imagine
to
if
fund
you did a
itself.
fund for the farmers, that you could get some kind of grant to match that fund.
Yeah, and that's what,
Okay.
and that's
And
what
then
Noel
you
was
could
saying.
build that fund, but
Yeah.
what I would ask you, and I'm actually just texted two of the biggest farmers in town, and neither of them said that any single person in this town has come up to them and asked them what they need as a farmer. So if you really wanna know what the farmers need, bring them in here and ask them.
Yeah.
Cause I'm texting Jesse and Sparky right now, and neither of them nobody has asked them that question. Right now.
They're lying.
So, they have not been asked, maybe, John, maybe you have talked to them, but in a general term, nobody has gone to them and said, what can we do and what will really help you? Because I'm asking them, I'm talking to them right now. I
I
think
had a
it's
very
great
long
idea.
conversation
But
with,
if you're gonna do the idea,
with Mr. Poliskowitz about,
if you're gonna do the idea, they should be sitting right here.
okay.
Because then they can tell you what they really need and what's really going to help them.
So you put together a subcommittee for the farmers to look over this and come up with something.
Yeah,
Or just
like,
have them come in and tell you.
and Dole was very upfront with us. He, very busy, active. He said, I gave this a couple hours, sat down, thought about it for days, gave it a couple hours, put it together. As he was going through it, he was like, this may not be the best thing, but I put it on here just as a, hey, it's on here kind of thing. So it's just a framework of something, but
What I did notice from his paperwork is that they have like cover crops, which does have a grant from the county. The grant is no longer in existence, but I would hope that anything that we would put into this would be something that's not realized already by the county in case those grants do come back.
Well,
We're
that's
not
what he
kind
was
of
saying.
overlapping.
But he also said a lot of the reason some of this stuff is put in here, because right now, a lot of these farming programs are not active.
Have been zeroed out.
Yeah,
Can change
Yeah,
over time.
of course.
So-
It depends on how much
And-
money they have and the governance of the,
So that's where
Yeah,
having
administration's
the
covered.
Northampton County Conservation District administer it, they know all those specifics.
okay. Is there anything else? We have the municipal solar, the farmer grant funding.
Oh, for us?
Yes.
Nothing specific, I mean, we can go into all the problems that you could have with water and sound and noise and whatever, but that's not for this particular meeting.
I appreciate that. EDC?
Just think that we better take our time with it and look what we really need to do with that money.
You're not gonna talk about
I'm not
infrastructure?
gonna talk about it. I told you what I think. I told you what I think, and if we really, it needs to be done intelligently. And
Well-
and if it's not, we're gonna ruin this.
I'm the EDC liaison. I was at the last meeting where there was a lot of discussion. The thing that I picked up when everyone was asked what they want to do, it was the water on 611,
Or
which is a
And
big,
dangerous.
that's a large cost. It's a capital project, very expensive. That would fit very nicely into the CBA in any
It
way,
would
shape, or
do it,
form.
and I also think you can get state and federal grants to counter some of the costs, because it's infrastructure for a township. So I think you can not only go to the state, I think you can go to the federal. I think you can get somebody smarter than me to look into that, but I'm pretty sure that you can.
So can I put down, water on 611 for the EDC?
Water and sewer,
Do
absolutely.
you approve?
Water and sewer.
So water and sewer.
I think every single person in our meeting, that was number one on our list. And if we're really smart about it, we run it right up, we run it up 512 and we get it to our school system.
Is there anything else that you'd like to pitch from the EDC?
Russ, you got anything else from EDC?
The other one we discussed is from an economic development perspective, if we're going to support or foster businesses to come into the township, it was above and beyond what we wanted to offer the farmers, is that we would want to offer that to any and all businesses to come in. And then, of course, that brings up infrastructure.
So a business grant funding.
Business supporting, business attracting incentives, yes.
Would the farmers also be able to apply to that type of program?
Well,
You
we're-
probably could put it all together.
Because a farmer
We had discussed that
generally
it
is
should
a
be
business.
all encompassing, because a farmer is a business.
Yeah.
We
pay
had it
lots of
as,
taxes, we don't. Sorry.
What would help your farm the most? Honestly, like if you
Getting
could
rid
get
of the
some kind
deer.
of help.
Seriously, the deer, and I'm not kidding, the deer, they eat us, you plant something and it's
Brutal.
gone.
You'll be
It's
surprised what
before.
they eat.
Brutal.
So deer conservation
Yeah,
would be one
and
of the
people
top
feeding the
things.
deer to encourage them to eat more of your crops.
And they eat rose bushes too.
Well, what
Tell me how you know, Fran.
what other things would help your farm? Because
Oh, a
you
lot.
guys-
So I sent Nick an email earlier today. So on the national average, it's $1,000 per acre to plant corn. And in 2025, the income is a negative $87 per acre.
That's correct.
And that's with the bridge program, which is reinstated. And fortunately, this administration passed an ag act, and there's a lot of help for farmers, but still, we're always in the negative. So for every 10 years of operation of the business, you're at a negative income for 8 of
So
those.
what gets that from the negative income to a positive income?
Looking for sustainable practices to outreach and do other
Does
things.
it, does,
Or you have a spouse that works to
Does-
sustain it.
and does selling that, say, taking part of your percentage of your crop, selling that locally to get more money for it locally, does that incentive, does that offset any of the
Instead of
difference?
bulk selling.
Because
to
I
sell
would
local.
imagine you're bulk selling, you're getting a wholesale price for it, correct?
Right, so, I mean, it's commodities, right? So if we're looking at our biggest farmers is Sparky, right? He tills more acres
Oh my God.
than
That
anybody
never stops.
in our community, and he owns how many acres in our township. So, you know, he takes his corn and wheat, whatever, to, I don't
It goes out country. Most
yeah,
of it
he goes out like
Goes to the
Bloomsburg or
ports.
somewhere.
No, it
He
doesn't go,
goes
well,
out.
some goes to the port, but a lot of it
Yeah,
goes
some-
out towards Lebanon, and they store it, and it's a
Yeah.
commodity. You know, and those guys in the middle, they make the money. The
Yeah.
farmer gets waxed up most of the time.
Right, that's why I'm saying, if it was sold locally and we could help promote the sale of locally grown stuff somehow, and put that as part of a mission, even maybe something the EDC could look at, considering we promote other businesses, why aren't we promoting the farms? So if that's a way to increase your income by getting a higher value for your product and not having to ship it all out,
I also can see that that's gonna take more of their time. And farming is a, that is a 24 hours a day.
Well, one time, the county talked one time, when I was in county council, they talked about putting storage next to the railroad in Nazareth. So all farmers could bring their stuff there and store it at no charge. It would be on the county. And then you could control the market better as to when you shipped it out to sell it. But I don't think that's doable here. We don't have that many crop farmers here. But frankly, everything Laura said is correct. If you read what Dole said, Dole has a grass-fed beef operation. 90% of what's on here is of no value to the other farmers.
Right.
I mean, he's got some great ideas, but when he talks about, he's talking about basically not putting fertilizer on, 10, whatever. He wants to put cow manure. Well, okay, they got a lot of cows, you can do that. Most of the crop farmers today don't put manure on, they don't have it to put on. I mean, I save mine up all year to put 2 big loads on one field, quite frankly. But I like it because it does raise nice stuff, but.
so if you can't increase the income from the crop, then how do you decrease the cost of getting that crop? Because there has to be one or the other to help the farmers. Either we have to figure out, how if we're gonna actually help a farmer, we have to know how to get you either more money for your product
Right.
or cut your costs.
If there was a fertilizer subsidy, would you benefit from it?
That would, yeah, that would definitely help.
Is it a game changer that changes your equation to a positive influx?
I mean, anything
Well,
that
and you
goes
see,
in
that's
a
the
green
thing with
direction.
farming, you don't know.
Because of the weather and stuff, I
Well,
understand that.
because you don't know what your yield is going to be, because you don't know.
But you're saying like over a 10-year period, you're losing so much per acre of crop. You're
Right.
$87 or whatever per acre. So how do we change that?
Get rid of the deer.
What's the game changer?
That's
But I don't
what-
know, Laura, is
that's
there any
your-
possibility of some kind of buying cooperative where you could bulk
Well-
buy with other farmers, certain commodities that are shared across farms?
If you go down to Kiefer's farm, you'll see giant storage. That's a plus, because they can store it and they can watch the market. And they have enough money to be able to do that. And then ship it when the prices are good. And it maybe goes to the dock, maybe it goes out to Lebanon, maybe it goes somewhere else. But I don't think,
So,
I don't think the
Mr.
farmers
Engel,
here have that ability to have, and again, they farm 2,000 acres, Kiefer's. But maybe if Lower and Upper Mount Bethel would get together, like somebody said about Portland and Mount Bethel, which I've tried for years, it never worked. But maybe if you get a couple of townships that have enough farmers, you could come up with something. But it takes volume to help those farmers.
I only ask because I'm looking at this list of things that the farmer's asking for, and not being a farmer, I don't know what the game changer is. So you being farmers, what's the game changer? I know being in business, what changes the equation in my business when I'm doing something, and what's gonna make me a profit and what's gonna make loss after doing it for as many years as I have. So what changes that for the
Look,
farmer?
I think one of the biggest issues for farmers is variable costs from year to year. You don't know what you're gonna
Right.
pay for inputs, and you don't know what you're gonna get for outputs in any given year, because there are commodity markets on both sides. Beef is a commodity.
Right, so some-
Feed is a commodity. So that's why I mentioned earlier, stabilization fund. Something that gets pulled out to help the farmer in an environment where costs have gone up or prices have gone down, to smooth the peaks and valleys for them. So,
So instead of all this stuff on here, basically a
Well-
fund that when they're having a year that's either a drought or the costs have gone up like this year with
Yeah.
fuel, that fund would offset those costs, so.
it could be
let-
tapped. It
So,
could-
so
it could
they
be-
say the average cost of fuel is $4 a gallon, now it's 6. The farmers uses 5,000 gallons in a year. You take the difference, they're able to go to that fund and say, hey, costs are this much higher this year, 20%, we need some help this year. But if that's the case, then you have to do some kind of fund where the farmers are putting into that fund also, not just the township.
Well,
So it equals out.
We don't want to get too much into the weeds, because that's not the goal tonight. But a stabilization fund could be a loan fund too. It doesn't have to be give money away. It could be
Right.
the township has a pool of money. If somebody's in trouble in a particular year because costs have gone up or prices have gone down, they can tap a low-interest loan from the fund for, the next 18 months or 24 months or whatever. There's a lot of ideas. I just want to stress one thing about process. We have to really avoid demeaning anybody for giving inputs of ideas. And that includes Dole or anybody else. And I'm not saying anybody's doing this, but the whole idea of democracy in this country is founded on self-interest. You make the best case you can for what you do and you want. And the other person does it for them, and the other person does it for them. And then our public officials synthesize all those ideas and make the best
I'm
judgments.
definitely not demeaning this, that's why.
No, I'm just saying, we
What
shouldn't
would
sit
help
here
them?
and pick Dole's ideas apart. We may agree with them or not agree with them, but he did a great service by spending the time to
Sure.
produce this document.
I just don't know enough about them to know
I
what
know.
the game changer is.
So, one process suggestion I have, because I think somebody said, can we get the farmers in? Can the committees actually invite constituencies in to their committee meetings to
So
give
would that
input?
be- would that
Because
be
rather
open
than the
space?
supervisors doing it, the committees can funnel ideas in and have special groups to, farmers, come to our next EAC, tell us what
Yeah,
you
well,
need.
would that be
You benefit.
EAC or would that be open space?
Or whatever.
Because I think that's
too.
that's a great.
Anywhere.
Or
You
all
get
of
them, you get them somewhere and find out what helps them.
Farmers can buy crop insurance, by the way, Ray. You can buy crop insurance.
Right.
It's fairly costly. It protects you if you do have a bad year. But just for instance, right now, the Middle East, basically the farmer needs 3 different fertilizers. One of those 3 is
they're
really
there.
obtainable from the Middle East. And the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, so you can picture what a ton of that fertilizer costs the farmer
Yeah,
right now.
it's
But he's going to
probably
get the same
quadruple.
price at the end for his corn.
Okay, let's go on to open space.
Okay,
So Laura.
so I think my bottom line in open space is always Article 1, Section 27 of our Pennsylvania Constitution, which is, the people have a right to clean air, pure water, and to the preservation of natural, scenic, historical, and aesthetic values of the environment. Pennsylvania's public natural resources are the common property of all the people, including generations yet to come. As trustees of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all the people. I think really that's the thing, it's all the people for generations to come. And we're very fortunate, we have a lot of open space. You know, you think of all the parklands and the federal and everything else we have, and Fish and Wildlife, and the state with Mincy and the county. And we have private owners, so we're very fortunate to have that. And we have a good budget, but we have costs coming up with land easements and also the preserve, with the trails and, you know, and one of, I think, our backbone principles in open space has always been to tap money from whatever resource we can, and we've been able to do that. And Janet was a wonderful steward of doing that, and we've tried to get monies from everywhere for our projects. And we do have a budget now, but in the future, you know, we need to keep that same mindset and keep on that. So that's my open space comment on that.
Well, hopefully, if any development goes in and any jobs go into it, you will get a boost in the EIT, which means that more money will be funneling not only into the tax and the township coffers, but into open space, into the fire department, into the school system.
That's only if
especially-
those jobs are local, and those people are resident.
They still have to pay a portion, it's just not the max 5%.
Yeah.
So there will be certain, and as I'm to understand it, the jobs that are at those type of facilities are extremely high-paying jobs.
Double check your math on that one. And there are very few of them.
So can you pinpoint that into something that could be included into the CBA?
I mean, for our next meeting, we can work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
And
definitely.
the open space is different than everybody else
We are
because it's
different.
well funded.
Yes.
We are,
is-
So
right now.
for us to ask for more money,
Give me a bigger
it's kind of being
But,
greedy.
yeah, no, we're-
But would
Just
you
what you
like
said.
to see perhaps like a capital expenditure at the preserve? Like I know that in the NID they were talking about a nature center or something. That would be a high ticket item so that the budget in the open space can keep doing what it's doing, which is acquiring easements, acquiring development rights, maybe maintaining the preserve. That wouldn't be something really for the CBA because that's an ongoing obligation of something that you guys already started. So
Right.
if you want to do an additional center for learning
Right.
within the, I think that would fit very well within the ideas of the
Yeah.
CBA.
Definitely.
So to ladder on to sort of where Laura started, right? A CBA is a deal with the devil. We're welcoming in a development that is going to change the soul of this township. When I was talking with one of our county council members this past week, he's like, you better make sure you get something substantial. What does that mean? Basically, the question that's before us tonight is, what are we willing to give up for clean air? What are we willing to give up for pristine dark skies? What are we willing to give up for potential pollution of the Delaware River? What are we willing to give up for noise that is rattling the windows of the folks who live adjacent to these properties? So we've got to do, and I agree with you, we've got to do this right. You've got one chance to do this correctly, to make sure that whatever we get is worth the sacrifice that we're unfortunately asked to make here. Right? So other townships like the Limerick one up near between Chickshitty and Berwick, they didn't do this right. They got hosed. They got the shiny new fire truck. They got some school tax money, and small businesses up there got hosed and continue to get hosed as that property continues to draw more water and more water out of the Susquehanna River. Those properties continue to expand exponentially. So there is a question here. What are we willing to give up for what we get? So we've got to get this right. And that's why I was asking when we started, what's the timeline? How do we get the entire community involved? How do we give the community a voice where they can even so much as go on a ballot initiative? Is this what we want? Moratoriums are rolling out across this country. Ohio is voting, Ohio in November is going to vote on a permanent ban on hyperscale data centers across the great state of Ohio. We've got to do this right. We've got to think about this. It's more than it's coming. We've got to just roll over. We've got to make sure that whatever we give equals what we get, or we're in trouble.
That's why we're sitting here. This is a meeting of ideas from each committee. So what would you like to talk about from open space?
So I have a couple of ideas. I have a lot for your municipal ordinance, which I will share with you supervisors separately.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I have a couple of things. It's sort of open space adjacent, so I'll say it. A lot of municipalities are putting in property value guarantees, and it's called PVG. And what that does is it sets a radius around the development, and it mandates the developer establishes an independently administered fund to compensate homeowners if their property sells for less than pre-construction appraisal. And that fund would then fill that difference.
That would enable the people that are going to be next to it to have the option to get away from it.
Yep.
Which is not a bad plan.
The other thing I have, and again, I'm stepping into different committees' grounds. I'm all over the place here because, again, as open space, we haven't had a chance to discuss this, but actual riverfront parkland. River towns, really successful river towns from Lambertville and New Hope and Milford, they all have riverfront parkland. I would love to see from the existing power plant to the Portland border, riverfront parkland with ADA walking paths that includes that boat ramp that you talked about, and then parking for trailers and folks to access and use that as parkland. It keeps some of that green space. One of the things in a lot of our conversations, including ours, is one of the things that really hems us up as not an ecotourism as the only thing for economic development here, but one of the things that we're hamstrung is as a township, we don't have access to the river.
Correct.
That's a huge one. So that, again, it's sort of open spacey, it's open space adjacent, it really is park and rec, but I'd love to see that as a component of this. If we're giving up everything, let's make sure we get something big in return. That's a big thing. It doesn't cost the developer much other than the value of that land. But I think that as a community, if you want to talk about what brings our community forward, a downtown would go a long way. Riverfront parkland would also.
Anything else?
Those were the two big ones. Again, I haven't gotten to speak with our committee
Yeah,
yet.
isn't that something like that, wouldn't that not be part of the CBA? Couldn't that even be something that was negotiated with whoever the user ends up being?
I mean, there is the saldo, so, yeah, again, these are all ideas.
I just look at companies like
These are
Ultra
things
Poly
that-
that are in town, and they do a lot for us already. Like,
Yes.
big companies can afford to do a lot for us. So maybe that's not necessarily on the developer end, but it's not a bad idea. Couldn't we go to the user and say, hey, listen, you're gonna be taking up this property? And, I mean, right now, in all reality, that's probably the worst property in town. It's got a power plant that's dilapidated, it's useless, it's basically, I don't know if they classify it as a super site, but it's a mess. So they're now gonna clean that up, put something there. Why not say to the user, make the area next to you beautiful?
That is absolutely a way to do it. Telling someone that they have to give up a portion of the land, that would have to be a delegate
Sure.
conversation.
Yeah.
I think that the time to talk about that is when we're discussing the CBA.
And then the other thing I would ask you is, you know, right now, say this particular development happens, whatever happens up there happens, and that particular area is developed. How do we prevent it from becoming Academy or 5 other data centers? That would, you know, I think that property that they're developing is probably the best one to bring us a tax revenue in town, because it's dilapidated, it's mostly away from the majority of the residents here. Because I also like the idea of that guaranteed pricing, because the people that aren't right in that area wanted to get away from it, they would have the ability to without losing money. That's not a bad idea. But how do we stop, so this goes through, and then after it goes through, what can the supervisors or the township do to make sure that we don't end up with 5 others or 5 other giant corporations in our township? Because that's not what we want.
That is very easy to answer. Ensure that you vote for the supervisors you want.
It has to be more than
It has
that.
to be
The
more.
supervisors change
But
their
hold
minds.
on.
I'm sorry.
We're not changing the zoning. This is our I-2 and I-3 area. That's the only I-2 and I-3 area.
But isn't most of
So-
it used up with this development in itself?
Yes.
So at that point, can't we say, all right, our I-2 has been developed, we're not gonna let it progress any further? And I think that's a lot of what.
There isn't another area for them to do it on unless the supervisors want to change zoning, which they're seeing in Lower Mount Bethel, which they're seeing it in other, up north,
Right, but that's
Smithfield.
basically asking the residents to take a risk on, and no offense, on supervisors not changing their minds, and it happens all the time. There should be some protection that the people of this town can get after this development is done, that this is what we have. We know we're developing this section because it's bad. We don't want to go developing another whole section of our town, and we don't want the supervisors to have the ability to change that zoning later to suit their needs or their agenda.
I do not think that there is any mechanism in place that can force future supervisors to do anything.
Maybe we should look into that. Could I just,
Well,
it's farm and forest, it's not whatever. But let me go back to open space and whatever, and follow up with what Tom was saying, because he did it very well. One of the things we had here was water consumption and contamination. It's just independent hydrogeologic study, which we're trying to update ours, proof of no impact on residential wells. But then maybe for a CBA, mandatory groundwater monitoring of wells, real-time water usage reporting, drought contingency, because we're still in the drought. What's a drought contingency plan if all of a sudden everybody's well water is going low and they still need to be using a certain amount?
So,
Is that an ordinance?
In a
or is that a
CBA, you would like to have like a well water monitoring program or,
Yeah,
So,
some monitoring of their wells, their usage, what are they gonna do when the water level goes down? There's a lot of other issues with that recirculating water thing.
okay.
and heat
So
and everything else.
we'll retouch back on all the
Yeah, let me
committees
just-
again after we do the assessment and review and the public comment. So let's just give a
She-
portion for each
she
committee.
did bring up something that I have here. I just want to touch on that.
Sure, go ahead.
When I said I have stuff that should go into municipal ordinance,
Okay, that's.
a lot of what I have in here touches on that, including a public-facing website tracking the sustainability
Okay,
metrics,
yes.
ongoing monitoring reports. I have a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
I've got, it's in Tom Gilmore Chicken Scratch. I've got to really type it up, but I'll share it with you so you guys can see that.
Great, yeah. The ordinances
That's-
really aren't for this. This is the.
Right, but they're probably more important than just our wish list of what we'd like to
Yeah.
have.
I'm not arguing with you.
Okay, no, I'm not arguing.
No, I agree. I agree. Parks and Rec. A ham sandwich? There's a lot of good ideas going on here.
Well, first, everybody should know that Parks and Rec has not deliberated on this, because I was asked not to share this with Parks and Rec as a board. So, I'm aware of what's going on because of,
What?
that was from you,
Okay.
just because we spoke. But from the first chairs to the table, second chairs to the table, and just what we've been working on from our perspective, and this ties to what Tom said, but Parks and Rec had a 2004 master plan that was already deviated from. We did discuss a rec center, we did discuss a community center, we have discussed, and what was part of the original master plan was the township building being up at the park. But our highest priority now, which is outside of the CBA, is developing a new updated master plan, because there's a lot of piecemeal projects going on that don't integrate well. Part of that is the overall long-term vision of the park, which means aesthetics, overall look, walking trails, the amphitheater, part of the original planning, additional parking. We just got our softball fields done, we're working on pickleball, and everybody knows we are unfunded. Parks and Rec is looking at what we're doing as a business, and we are far from being able to become self-sufficient. We have discussed the ideas of a rec center, which could be indoor basketball courts, which we do sorely need. We needed softball fields, we now have those, we're working on that. We do need walking trails, we're talking about ambient lighting, we talk about security because unfortunately things happen.
So the walking trails would be around the park?
Yes. So there's a lot of park development items we're looking for, but a lot of that stems on us finding funding. So blanket statement, Parks and Rec needs funding for park development. We need funding for, if we do get a rec center, if we do get a community center, we're thinking about having a place for indoor gatherings, even our movie nights, if somebody wanted to have a corporate event. We do have heavy interest in people looking for wedding venues or a location. And if anybody tracks what a barn dominium runs for a wedding, Parks and Rec, that would be a significant income stream.
I like that you guys are looking for revenue streams, like
We've-
a
we've-
walking trails and a
right.
rec center is
Walking
a
trail
one.
is passive, there's no revenue there, but it costs money.
It's a one-time
Sponsored.
purchase
Part
to
of it's,
create that benefit, so,
Yep.
great, I see that.
And as, I hate to say it, but as we know, everything costs a ridiculous amount of money when it goes out for bid and prevailing rate. It should not have cost us almost $200,000 to put that pavilion up, but it did. Those bathrooms were over $160,000. It's ridiculous. So, we talked about referendums, moving forward, yes, there's gonna be more jobs coming in, hopefully they stay local. I said this before, this has nothing to do with the CBA, but we've got some other ideas. Some EIT going to Parks and Rec, ongoing. If we have to hire anybody.
That's not for the CBA.
I know,
though. Okay.
but we're bringing up future. We're looking down the road to when we're no longer on this board. What are we leaving behind? Everything we do, from my, I like to say we bring people together. We have a very heavy youth influence. We were very successful in getting our sports programs back. Those are now off on their own due to insurance implications that we honestly, we didn't know. So now we're refocusing more on park development and then community events. But it's a gathering place. We want to bring people together. We still have people who don't know that the park is up there, which amazes the hell out of me. And that could be marketing, that comes down to funding.
Well, I see
So-
rec center as a way to
Yep.
bring in revenue.
And then again, part of the original master plan, bringing people to the park is one of the reasons, and I have separate, one of the reasons why we are for the township building being up there. It does a few things, and I'm also the acting IT director for the township, so I could say this. It consolidates infrastructure, which ultimately reduces technological and operating costs from an infrastructure perspective. We also have issues with property damage at the park. Well, if there's a presence, it's a deterrent. We consolidate, somebody's right there. We can extend power off the township building, we can extend internet off the township building. Township building needs water and sewer. Well, we just put a separate system in, it's not going anywhere, but if we want to do anything else, there's additional infrastructure. So that comes from us thinking of ways to not increase costs, but still be able to get supporting infrastructure like a rec center, which is gonna come at a cost. We already got estimates to redo the large barn. That is something we're looking to do, because right now we cannot use it.
What estimates did you get for redoing the one?
So that was the
Curiosity.
unicorn estimate, which was just from one provider. and Ed Nelson's input, which took it to the next level.
Never mind, all right. so
Well, hold on.
Large
But no,
barn
but that's,
restoration.
but that's important, because that estimate was 6.1 million.
Yes, it was.
Now, that was the foundation is deemed, I know, but hold on. That was a estimate,
just so you
that was
know,
not
move on.
necessarily driven by Parks
Hold
and
on,
Rec.
let's just continue.
But outside influence, do we want to have a venue that we can use as a gathering space, potential emergency shelter, multi-use? Our indoor movie nights, we've
But that
tried to
sounds
do,
like the-
we've tried to do
the
craft
rec center.
shows where the wind was so
So bad.
strong. Canopies with anchors were
We're
lifting.
fly- Yeah, they went
So-
flying.
You know, because we try to do that, we'd like to have the farmer's market, which we're starting June 28th, in case anybody wants to know, that's the first one. But how do we get more people to the park? How do we continue to support youth sports with facilities? How do we support passive sports or, unorganized sports with what we have up there? We're doing that now, pickleball is great. We do get people on a basketball court.
So, I just want to, as a supervisor, it just, when you said it,
Yeah.
I'm going down a slight road here, but I'll bounce right back. When you say that Parks and Rec is unfunded,
We are.
the township covered the cost of the softball fields. We're
We
covering the
budgeted for that
cost. So
because we
I
asked
know
for it.
that, I know that you don't have a revenue source coming in.
We have no steady budget. There's no budget defined that is in perpetuity or guaranteed like open space receiving a percentage of EIT. Which, if the township does better, then Parks and Rec gets a little more funding. If the township does worse, okay, it's relative.
Of course.
But with the addition of what's to come, and this, again, outside the CBA, but maybe a negotiating. Maybe we don't get, what we want out of the CBA, but maybe it's consideration for the supervisors for that ongoing operational expense of, if we do get a rec center, depending on what we do, if we have a rec director, or if we have park staff to make sure that nobody's, graffiti or breaking glass blocks or putting nails through our picnic tables, that costs money. So, and that's not necessarily maintenance, that's supervision, but we talk about it now. We're talking about putting more cameras up there because we've got people tearing through our fields, which costs a ridiculous amount of money to get perfect, with quads. So then I could say, well, do I want a police department? Not necessarily. Do I want to see people damage stuff that we just purchased or just opened? I think it was a week for the bathrooms. It was 2 weeks for the park furniture, which took us 2 years to find funding for. Everything we do takes a ridiculously long amount of time, and then to see it come to fruition and then see something bad happen to it is incredibly frustrating. So while we do want to see, would I love to have a top-notch double basketball rec center up there? Absolutely. If we say, hey, let's keep it open until 10 p.m., and then we go in and there's graffiti on the bleachers or something, what do we do?
Well,
So
a
it's
rec
it's
center
larger,
does-
it's enforcement, it's protection, it's security, and all of that comes down to dollar signs.
A rec center does give Parks and Rec funding. It allows for an area that you can come out in
Immediate
from the
multiple use.
wind.
If we need an emergency
Emergency
center, we have it.
shelter,
If we
yeah.
need a emergency meeting center because something's going on, we have it.
That's
We
great.
can support basketball, we can support movie nights, we can support other corporate
Other
events.
events.
If they wanted to do that, we could potentially support sports tournaments that we have to navigate from an insurance perspective, but we have the ability to then have those discussions. It's not theory at that point, it's, hey, what else can we do with this? And the venue, the wedding stuff, we've gotten several asks for that. That could be significant. If we just had one wedding a month over 4 months in the summer, that could be $40,000 that we typically don't see for
Okay.
years
Okay, great.
That'll support you for a year.
Would you like to
or less.
add anything in?
I know.
Well,
It's
You
a
gotta
lot.
start
First in
somewhere.
this
I
list.
would.
Okay.
Well, TAC is next.
Well, this has nothing to do with TAC, this has to do with what you've been talking about. I go to the Shrin Center. You know what a Shrin Center is? It's like the Park and Rec, what he wants to see.
Yeah.
Because they got a gym, and they got a couple of separate rooms.
Forks has one as well.
And,
That's very, very
and I'll
popular.
tell you, it doesn't have to be just that. I belong to a quilting guild, and we meet in Shrin.
general
We charge-
meeting room.
We are charged, we meet once a month, so it can combine, so I would call it a community center.
Exactly.
so I could change and get a group of girls to go and pay for a room every month.
Do you have anything that you want to say from the
Yes,
TAC?
yeah. Hang on a minute. You wanna talk about the Oh, okay. All right, my wish list is, the radar signs for the town. For speed.
Radar.
Radar.
Radar signs, more radar signs.
That's one of the great lines we have here.
Excuse me,
Babe.
civility, that's not appropriate.
Please.
That's
Okay,
not acceptable.
I'm not
Please.
Well, then can
dumb.
you control that?
I will not have a member of the public
I
bad-mouthing
didn't
someone
hear, I
up
was
here.
paying
What-
attention
what the
to
hell- what are you talking
what
about?
Fran was saying.
We heard. And you know, this
Yeah.
town,
Now you're talking about.
Let's please have decorum.
Yeah.
We're doing very well.
That's unacceptable. I won't have him talk to Fran that way.
You know you're quite the main player.
Okay, Fran, continue,
all
please.
right. That's one thing we talked about at our meeting, okay? Another thing, we were supposed to get a light on 611 and 512. What happened to that? That's on my wish list to get that up and running too.
Okay.
That would be part of my infrastructure, which was the light there, township parking lot,
State roads, right?
things that you actually need to grow as a
Yeah.
township. But if
We
we're gonna
really
grow,
don't-
we have to be safe
So-
about it. There should be a light there.
That would be PennDOT.
Yeah, but it's something the
I thought it
township
was
could
approved by
request.
PennDOT.
No, they did a study.
They did a study.
Yeah, but I thought it was approved, but they didn't have the money to do it.
If the study came back and they said that it was warranted, they would have put one in, whether
Yeah,
we
it's-
liked it or
yeah.
not.
Oh, gee.
That would also depend on the amount of traffic increasing, which is.
Right,
Yeah,
and
well,
as
we're
traffic
gonna have a traffic
increases, we might
increase.
meet that standard,
Yeah.
and then PennDOT would come and put
That
it
wouldn't
in.
even have to be in the CBA, they'd have to do that.
Right.
And there's another thing you should know I'm concerned about is the senior citizens that come across the road on 512 with their mailboxes. I think we should find some way, maybe giving money to help the post office so that we're not jeopardizing these people's lives to cross 512. I mean, I'm lucky, I finally got my mailbox on my side of the road. But I think we should get some money to help the post office so that they can figure out a way so they can make all the right turns, so they can get on, back onto 512 the other way.
Corey, if you want to speak to this, I can't. I just got a job at the post office.
Oh, you
So,
traitor!
I can't say, yes, that's a good idea, no, that's a bad idea. You're talking about a government facility.
I know, but,
Talking about a federal agency.
yeah.
They made a.
Yeah, but I thought they were
zoning bars a
privately
few years back
privately
too.
zoned. Oh,
As the TAC liaison, I did talk to the post office about that, but that's not really for the CBA. There was no real solution except
Well,
for
I think
a
that-
PO box for the people there.
I think the town needs to find, because, you know,
Okay.
you become a senior citizen, you don't wanna keep driving out on the roads. I know I don't, I rarely go out now unless I have a place to go. I get my food delivered.
All right, Jeff, is there anything that you want to add from the TAC?
I just want to back up the idea of the dock and the public access to the river, because that's going to be a public safety thing for the, water rescue type stuff, and obviously recreation, it's huge. It is still inconceivable to me that we have so much river frontage that is within the township, but none of it is township owned. This would be a great shot to get something along the
Does
river.
the township own any of the property along the river?
No.
It's
It's
all
none of
private.
it, it's all private?
No, so this would not only give our EMS access to the river, recreation, and.
Is it all
the-
private?
Go for it.
Yes.
No,
the
Mount
fire department-
Mount Jack is county.
The
But is
fire
there-
department would be able to take water.
What I think I'm
to fill
ultimately
the-
getting at, is there a piece of property there that the township could purchase
There
to
is,
do any of the things that they're talking about?
there is a piece in the book,
It's not the 1920s anymore.
possibly, but we have to talk to the owners.
Bring
of it.
back the good old
So again, that's a nice
Or
conversation
the
to
user
start
that moves
with
in.
this.
you may be able to get the user that moves in. Didn't our park get donated to us?
But we can't force them or not. to
No,
do
we
it.
can't, but didn't
It's
our
part of
park
the-
got donated, correct?
Because
Yes.
we
What's
lost
to
river
say that-
access, right?
Because we lost, yes.
We lost river access and we got 93 acres on Potomac Street. That was the trade-off.
Okay, so now, new user, we could easily go to them. I'm sure that not only supervisors, open space, and any of the other groups can go to them and say, hey, listen,
We can ask.
we're trying to,
That,
we're trying
that
to
would be
do.
a very nice ask, but if I came to you and said, I want a piece of
I'm
your
not a
land.
billion-dollar
I
corporation.
get it, I
Yeah.
get it.
If I was, believe me, I'd have a lot less problem with, than I do now, so, but, I mean, companies like that, that stuff's write-off still.
Yep.
That means nothing. If
Like
they're
I
not
said,
planning
it-
on using that property, it may be a good bridge to the community to get back some of the good faith in the community of allowing them to come in.
I can't
I wrote it down, now it's in two spots.
I just think of what these big companies we already have do for us. And you know, I'm gonna point this out because I don't know that a lot of people will talk about this or know this.
Hold
but-
on, we're still on TAC.
All right, I'll let
That was
everybody-
all we had.
That's it?
You know, we had, earlier he said we have to make a deal with the devil, but if we don't look at it that way, I mean, I can tell you that the developer has done a bunch of things that nobody probably even knows. Does everybody know that they donated all the trees in the park?
Yes?
You know, a lot of our residents have no idea, so their view of things are slanted, because they don't know that these companies and these corporations are willing to work with the community.
And I
They
don't think the
wanna be
CBA is gonna be
ostracized.
the end all.
They
They-
wanna make deals with the
I,
community.
I,
When
Couldn't
I s-
agree with
when I
you
said
more.
the devil, it was not directed at the developer, it was directed at the,
I
at the
understand, I
impacts
understand.
of specifically in this case, data centers.
I
'Cause
understand,
these
but
things are
I'm
Corey,
just,
is
I've
there
heard other
anything,
people
Red,
Yeah.
reference it
For
like
sure.
that.
Not all the trees are.
Corey, is there anything that you would like to see as a supervisor?
But a few.
No, I mean, I definitely want the public heard. We have to do it the right way, smart way.
So there's
Everybody
some
says
good
it,
things.
we have one shot at it, so it obviously can't be up to only 5 of us. You know, input from the public is, we have to do it, it's the right thing to do. But, I mean, the park needs help, the river access, you know, there's multiple things that would make many people happy. Not everybody, will never, nobody can make anybody happy. Everybody's got differences.
There's a saying.
Everybody,
It's finding the balance.
right. Some people may say that the park, we shouldn't even have the park. A lot of people love the park.
Like short term.
There's people that don't even wanna go to the river. You know what I mean? But a
Yep.
lot of people here love both. They like the river, they like the park, so it has to balance.
As a supervisor and an elected representative of the people, is there anything that you would like to see come out of the CBA, or at least be mentioned or put into this?
I got laughed at the last time I mentioned my comment, so.
We're not laughing, tell us.
The sidewalks going up for the people who do not have cars and try to walk to that dollar store.
That's that's right on my infrastructure, that's number 2.
I have physically pulled over and helped, just because
It's so dangerous.
they're uneven, the
It's-
roots are pushing them up, like, and I literally got laughed at by other people, so, but to me, that's huge. What are you gonna do, have somebody fall into the highway? Like,
Well,
I don't know.
That's a delicate conversation, because in the areas that the houses are
Then you
close to
put it on
the
the
front.
opposite side of the road with a crosswalk with lights. So
Well, I
cars
wanted
have
to bring up
stop.
sidewalks, but the problem with 611 is it's a state road.
Correct.
Yes.
So, and living on 611, I know there's no room for a sidewalk in front of my house. So you've got an easement issue, which I don't know how to fix, because if people are right there on the road, you
But
can't put a sidewalk.
the idea itself
Oh, yeah,
is founded and it's a good idea.
Yes.
How,
the execution is
how-
the question.
or if
figure
you
it out.
can achieve it,
Yeah.
has to be determined.
It's just, it's the way to do it and to fit it in properly, it takes
I get it.
a little bit of massaging. Is there anything else?
But those ideas
But-
like she's talking about and thinking big like that in an overall picture, you know, you guys bust my hump all the time, because I'm always preaching this infrastructure to you, but it's more than infrastructure, it's public safety. If you go down through 611, all those homes, the wells are failing, the septics are failing, I know because I own more than one. It's really more than that. You have the right to clean air, clean water, and we don't have that in this township now, before the development, let alone after the development. So if you don't have those standards now, why wouldn't you use some of this money to get those standards that should be your right to have? And then on top of it,
Then they can be mixed with grant money with sidewalks.
Absolutely.
But
And
it
then-
has to be kind of pinpointed that this
and
is
the
where we would
sidewalks are a little
need.
tricky, and I've looked
Yes,
at it going
they're
down there,
very
actually,
tricky.
you know, and I do a lot of this work. So could you run it straight sidewalk all the way down one side? Absolutely not. The money it would cost the township would be unreal. But there are very.
The eminent domain
There are-
needed to do that.
Right, and then now you're going against what the
Exactly.
residents need or want. So, but you could do it in sections where you had it go up one side for so long where you have the room, and then you put a crosswalk to get to the other side with flashing lights so people can get across without dying. I mean, there are a lot of safety things that we can kind of
This is
address.
something that would need to definitely be looked into more, but this is a good area to spark those comments.
Sure, and that's
So-
what this is all about, trying to figure out what makes sense to give us the best we can have in our town.
Personally, as a supervisor, I would like for Eastern Industry to be fully fitted so that our road crew can operate there. I would like this building to be redone. I personally don't want to see it at the park. I think this location is great, and once the road crew moves out, there's more than enough area for a dais and a meeting room in the garage.
Remodeled, of
No,
course.
which is, I have to add, that rec center could also house the township offices. One structure, multiple purposes, streamlined.
How do
Because
we
this
do
has to
it?
be torn down and get rebuilt. So
So
you're gonna have to
Salvo,
pay
you
for
gotta
the.
put it as your mission, how you do it without it being some ridiculous cost like the $6 million for a barn that you could, I mean, we restored our barn.
Again,
for
that
about
was
$500,000.
that was one contractor's estimate.
Now, that's no labor, so you probably double that. So probably $1 million, you should be able to get that barn.
The key here is we're highlighting the idea that we'd like to redo
Sure.
that large barn to use as a venue space. What that actually translates into, I don't know yet. Because we don't know what the timing or the funding would be. Now, if this happens and we come back and say, hey, you know, you might have 2 million to do that community center. And then if we get matching grants, we turn that into 4 million. Okay, maybe not 6 million, but 4 million could go a hell of a long way.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
can't make that decision right now. I can say, we'd like to see a rec center, we'd like to redo the large barn to be a community center. I wouldn't mind having township offices up there, but in the context of a rec center, add office space. Don't build another, it's gonna cost more to put another building together than to share infrastructure, water, septic, sewer, technology, and have dual purposes, and then still have an emergency management shelter, still have all these other things we're looking for. But economies of scale, the more you can put into one structure, the more money you're gonna save.
Okay, so looking at it from a township perspective, I think that having our road crew is something that we've been trying to move over for the last 10 years. So to facilitate that actual move, get the sheds and everything over there, that would be a high initial cost. That it's not really in the township's obligation to do that. They're working at it here, they're working at it here now. But it's a benefit for the township as well. And also this building, out of our comprehensive plan, they were looking at a new municipal building in 98 or 2002. So we have leaks, we have some issues with ADA compliance, whether it be at the park or just to redo this. We have it, we have the parking lot. I would rather it be here and we leave everything for recreation up there. But that's just how I see it. So right now we'll do a public comment. If anyone would like to add anything that perhaps has been, oh, Laura.
Can I add, I think we have to look to our history, and not everyone knows the history here. So when I was a kid, I used to deliver papers on 611, and there was a sidewalk. I walked from Eicher's down to the old post office, and there was sidewalks, and it was no problem. You want an ambulance? We used to have an ambulance corps in Portland. We had a local ambulance. Med Ed, if we were here 70 years ago, I wonder what the conversations would have been before Med Ed went in. Unit 1 of Med Ed went in 1958. And they probably employed, before deregulation, 200 to 300 people. Now think about in the past, and you have to ask your old-time residents, like Ron, myself, Judy, I don't know who else, but what it was like. What was Portland like? Portland was a different community.
Thriving back then.
I mean, there was 2 diners in Portland, right?
Three bar rooms, 2 diners, a bank, clothing store, you name it. Hardware store, the works.
So it's like we want to reinvent our township to be what we used to have in a way, right? Like we had all this, and it was a working relationship because people went, they had needs, and that's where they went. So, you know, but how do you do that in a sustainable way in today's economy where I can go on my phone, I can go on whatever, and it's delivered at my door tomorrow?
That's
So-
the need for data centers.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the catch-all. I mean, right? That's the
That kind of
catch-22.
falls on the business owners though. That's gonna fall to whoever decides to develop and have a business in the town. I mean, we've been in business in
Right.
town 8 years now. And we evolve constantly and we involve the
have to.
community.
Yeah.
With this Friday night, we have all of the lacrosse teams coming for a celebration that we donate. We do that for the baseball teams. But when you give back to your community, we do our Easter egg hunt. When you do all that stuff, you don't have to worry about sustaining yourself because your community is part of your business.
Well, Mrs. Bacco, you said about the ambulance. I didn't say an ambulance with
No, I
Med
heard
Ed.
someone say ambulance. I
John
did hear it.
Brown,
Oh,
John
John
Brown,
said it.
yeah.
Someone said it. I
That's
heard
been
it.
talked a lot.
Okay.
Right, but I'm just saying, like,
Is that something
years.
that's agreed on?
we
I
had
think
it. I'm just
it
saying
has
that's
been
something we
Talked
had.
about quite a while.
Yeah.
Well, the ongoing funding would be the question.
It's, and that's
The
where it's
continued funding,
sustainable.
correct.
Yeah. And-
Like the CBA could buy the equipment needed, but who's gonna pay for?
Well, just
maintaining
as
that?
Stavros was saying that he wants to see a referendum or something, an ambulance is something that the township supervisors could put the tax to support. I would only look to doing that if we're looking to drop the taxes, so that if we drop it 1 but bring it up half to cover an ambulance,
I don't even know.
we're getting a half tax reduction, but we're getting something out of it as well, so.
Yeah, but why would you have to bring it up? You're gonna have this whole new tax revenue source. You forget the
Yeah.
CBA, you're gonna have a steady revenue that you've never even dreamed of having coming from.
It's just something that is dedicated to it
After 20 years,
per law,
or 10 years.
per law. So it's not like we are donating to it. It is set up to run itself, would be why the taxes. And that's how a lot of municipalities have it. Same with fire tax.
But what I'm saying is with the new tax revenue coming in, you probably still could lower taxes and have that ambulance service.
Of course, I just don't wanna talk out
There's
of
a
line
word
that
on
we'll
that
drop it
property,
to and then.
And they get a tax incentive. They get 10% first year, then 20% second year. They have to reach 10 years where we
We're
will be
assuming the
getting
word
all
is
their.
gonna be renewed.
Well, if it is, otherwise we'll be in better shape if it isn't. But you know,
if it
you should
is,
know this.
even if you're getting a percentage, it's still way more revenue than we have now because so many
Well,
of our
yeah,
homes are in
yeah.
farmland.
Yeah, but-
I mean, my business is a farm. We're agriculture, we have 32 acres. So having reduced taxes in so many areas in our town is good for the people that are farming and stuff. But as a revenue for the town, it's not good because the town ultimately is a business.
Oh, yeah.
And it has to sustain itself. So now you're gonna have this new revenue, so you're gonna be able to sustain things that you didn't have
Well,
before.
Yeah.
hopefully, but it's gonna be gradual.
Okay,
Yes, but that's
so-
okay. We're looking at a long, we're also looking, what do we do 5 years from now, 10 years,
Yeah.
20, what do we look like?
Hey, Ray, it is 9 o'clock, so not to stay here until midnight, let's throw it out to the public comment. Is there, Mr. Engel?
Laura said about the ambulance, and I hear Mr. Birmingham often talk about the ambulance. It's not as simple as an ambulance. Yes, maybe it takes a while for Suburban or whoever they send to get here. But if you're gonna start an ambulance, for instance, Portland, you need 3 ambulances. You need a facility. You need trained people. And the benefit package money, okay, you have to sustain that afterwards. The township tax base has to keep that running. Frankly, it's been talked about. It's really a major undertaking to do. And again, you have to have the people, the personnel, the vehicles, the building, the training, on and on and on.
Absolutely.
So to spend this money to do that, it's not sustainable afterwards.
But it is a community benefit to have
Well,
it.
a different benefit, but is it sustainable afterwards?
Yeah.
This is all for the ideas.
Well-
So if we can find a way to make it sustainable, then that's great. Mr. Ball.
So just to add on this discussion about ambulance, so as an example, going back to the principles, governing principles, if you have an infrastructure need to start an ambulance system, a one-time cost, a building, equipment, et cetera, that could be funded through the CBA. These ongoing costs, that's the cost of doing business, that's the township government. The revenues that come from the business are part of the township revenues, and that's part of the township budgeting. So just, that's why I say governing principles are so important, because if you have a governing principle that you're gonna try to fund extraordinary costs, infrastructure costs, one-time costs with the CBA, but make sure the township can fund operating costs on an ongoing basis, you have to think about how these things divide along those lines, and an ambulance is a perfect example. Some portion of it could be infrastructure and upfront costs, but a lot of it's going to be an ongoing operating cost of the community. So that's a separate thing. So
And it does make its own revenue.
it could
but
also
it
generate.
never
It could
offsets the
generate.
full cost of the ambulance.
Yeah, it could generate revenue. So that's, I just think these are great ideas. This is a great discussion. John, thank you for leading it. Thank you all, chairs and vice chairs, for coming here. This has been fantastic. I think a real benefit to the community. I just think, again, if we can get these ideas in a structured way to flow through a statement of principles that the supervisors all agree in and the citizenry supports, this process is going to be a lot easier. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anyone online want to add anything? No?
Anybody
He's
online?
looking. Okay, so now we're in the assess and review stage. So for Parks and Rec, I heard rec center, walking trails, large barn restoration, possible municipal building. Okay. EDC, we have water and septic on 611, farmer sustainability school, and 512.
Right to the school.
Farmers sustainability fund and business fund for promotion. TAC, you piggybacked off of the riverfront access.
And the sidewalk idea too.
Open space to lock in property values, learning center at the preserve, and riverfront park, and farming sustainability.
And we're gonna take some of these ideas back and workshop them with the
Great,
committees.
great. EAC, municipal, God, I felt like 3 hours ago, huh? Municipal-wide solar, grant, farmer, grant funding, well water monitoring.
Yep, sure.
Okay. And the supervisors, sidewalk, municipal building, Eastern, and ambulance, since we're still around. And of course, this isn't the whole board of supervisors. To say again, the fire departments will be included within these discussions. So I think that's pretty much wraps it up for tonight. There's one thing that we didn't get to, and it's going to be a long and hearty conversation, is whether there's a board that would need to be formed, whether it's a supervisors or whether a consultant is used. So I think we can have that at a later meeting, once we kind of package this down a little bit cleaner.
Now, after you go back to the meeting with the supervisors, can you set up another meeting with this group again?
Absolutely.
And with
Like
the
I said,
supervisors again?
I think we should talk about whether a consultant is the proper way to go, whether a community kind of consulting board or the supervisors do it themselves.
I would argue against that last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Definitely gave some really good ideas.
Mr.